I had a full examination by the fire department medical office on this date here, where it states normal head, face, neck, scalp, back, extremities, and lower extremities, spine, and other musculoskeletal and neurological condition. This report was, again, I just showed you, and could prove it was held back. It was never read. And it was given to the pension board, Marlene Gold and Mary Sullivan, by my attorney and by myself. City Corp Counsel Magda DeConnick refers to the first 1B Medical Board report of a 1983 broken jaw on record, and admits on record that someone intentionally circled what looks like disc on the medical officer's diagnosis exam, meaning me, my exam. Quote, yet there is no evidence in any of his treatment, meaning my treatment, at the time, nor in any of his subsequent treatment, that Michael had received any injury. That any injuries had not occurred to his cervical area. Based on that, and based on the fact that we have additional evidence here, I would like to send it back to the 1B board for them to review and find out what they are basing their findings on. This Board of Trustees meeting was taken out of the records, which was supposed to be official part of the records and the court records, which was also disappeared from. With this new documentation, Magda says, from Dr. Michael Mark, showing that there is no medical findings in 1983 that I had a neck or back injury. This is outright fraud. Marlene Gold was also there. Dr. Mark was the neurologist who treated me in the hospital for a broken jaw. He reviewed the hospital records and stated I never had received a neck or back injury in 1983. He sent his letter to the 1B board. They already knew this, but the board wasn't going to read it. The Board of Trustees at this point was supposed to call for a vote on causation of my disability, and I would have gotten my rightful pension, but Magda DeConnick wasn't going to allow this and wasn't going to follow the laws along with Marlene Gold. So now my case goes back to the 1B board, medical board again, and on 10/17/1990 issues a second medical board report stating that my disability remains unchanged. Again, never reading the fire department's records that I was in perfect health. Now the board states that they rule out that I ever had a 1983 injury involving my neck or back. But now, the 1B report fraudulently states that the board has, quote, reviewed the members' records in its entirety, and he strained and bruised his neck and back, referring to me. The board now states my injuries are unrelated or aggravated by his injuries in the fire department, but are now related to a new concocted date of 11/1/1987. Again, no injury. An MRI report that the fire department sent me out for to a Dr. Sprecher, which was sent to Marlene Gold and Mary Sullivan of the 1B board and Board of Trustees. This report dated 9/11/1990, 3 weeks before this 10/17/90 1B board, states that my cervical disc injuries appear to be in recent nature because they are not associated with any bony spondylosis or discogenic degeneration, which would indicate a long-term process. Therefore, the cervical disc protrusions are consistent with a recent phenomenon and are not consistent with an idiopathic degeneration or with changes secondary to trauma that occurred several years prior to the MRI scan, because these long-term changes would result in disc space narrowing and plate, if I'm saying it right, scoliosis and bony spondylosis, which are lacking in this patient. This MRI report was also held back from the 1B Medical Board. Another act of fraud. Even after Rosemary submitted it many times, again and again. Again, also at the bottom of this 10/17/1990 of 1B Medical Report, the board now changes my cause of my disability and states it remains unchanged, and now my significant disability again was caused by an injury on 11/1/87. Again, the problem, I never had an injury on 11/1/87 to my neck or back. Again, more important, there was no evidence supporting this. On 7/13/1988, fire department neurologist examined me and found I was in perfect health with no neck or back injuries. More important was the fire department's own medical records that show on 11/1/87 to 9/27/88, before my line of duty injury, the fire department examined me and found me in perfect health, signed off by Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jones, again with no previous neck or back injury, and confirmed by a fire department neurologist. These medical reports to Mary L. Sullivan, that were given to Mary L. Sullivan of the 1B Board, and Marlene Gold, to be read, but again were held back and never read. And Rosemary Carroll resubmitted them with her memos again and again. Again, this is another act of fraud to deny me my rightful pension. And again, the 1B Board never examined me and never sent me out for an orthopedic evaluation or a neurologist examination like all other firefighters. And again, the trustees never voted by law of the causation of my line of duty disability. So now I'm disabled for a significant past injury where there's no evidence of, and they concocted these past two dates, 83 and 87, of which they found me disabled. And the medical evidence to support that I was in perfect health was never going to be read, no matter what we did. Even worse, someone had typed a 3-letter number on a fire department computer printout, which refers to a possible face, scalp, or neck contusion. The fire department chief medical officer, Dr. Jones, on record on the Board of Trustees meetings, which were destroyed and taken out of the court's records, stated this is not true. That Romanelli had no previous injury to his neck or back. At this point, I'm pretty sure that the 1B Board doctors could not have been writing these 1B medical certificates. And twice now, the fire department's own records were not being read. Remember the 4/6/84 medical report that I was examined? I was in perfect health 11 months before my injury. No, this was 84. This is after 1983. This showed I was in perfect health after in 1984. So how could they go back to 83 when 84's report showing I'm in perfect health? Not only that, but the other reports in 88, signed by the Chief Dr. Jones and signed by the neurologist, that I was in perfect health, and I was 11 months before my injury. So they can't go back to 87, but they did it. Later I go to the 1B board and meet with Mary O'Sullivan, and I ask her, why isn't the 1B board reading the fire department records that I gave her? Proving that I was already examined by the fire department, and many times with no neck or back injury. Mary states, Teddy Vogel took them out, as she points to him. Then I ask Teddy, what did you do? And Teddy states, Mary told me to pull them out. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These are my records, my retirement records, and they're pulling them out and admitting it to me. Now again, on the previous 11/14/1990 Second Fire Department Board of Trustees meeting, Marlene Gold states in the minutes on record that the 1B board said even after they send Romanelli back, send me back, and pointed to relevant information, it might mitigate in favor of the member's upgrade, meaning to my line of duty disability pension. Now the 1B board certificate doesn't mention this. Why is this favorable 1B certificate? Where is this favorable 1B certificate? What happened to it? This is what I ask. What happened to this certificate that Marlene Gold is referring to, that the 1B board might upgrade my pension, upgrade my disability, and give me my line of duty disability pension? Dr. Jones, Chief Medical Officer, states on the record to Marlene Gold that I never had a previous injury. These are in the Board of Trustees minutes. And Magda DeConnick already admitted this in the Board of Trustees minutes. Now Mary O'Sullivan fraudulently starts arguing on the Fire Department Board of Trustees minutes, on the record, that Romanelli had an injury on 11/1/87. This is illegal. She has no legal authority to be arguing a firefighter's disability case. She's a secretary. And most important, there was no evidence of this concocted 11/1/87 injury. And Marlene Gold and Magda DeConnick sat there while she done this. In fact, Carmine DeRoss had told me that he demanded that Mary O'Sullivan be fired for what she was doing to my case. Those minutes disappeared from the records and the court records. On January 18, 1991, a memo by Rosemary Carroll that was sent to Marlene Gold and Mary O'Sullivan. In this memo, she asked for a Department of Investigation concerning the serious irregularities